Human being, you must not cling to the past.
Everything which pertains to your past is more or less a long time ago. Thus also everything that relates to your childhood and to your home background, as well as to your wrong and damage-bringing education. To continually stir therein, and to refresh the memories thereto over and over again, does not bring you any benefit, but only continuously further damage, and this indeed if the memories of the past are of evil, negative, and bad nature. So it is senseless to wallow memory-wise in the terrible things of the past, because therethrough it makes everything only worse. Already the Times prophet Nocodemian said thereto, only fools torment themselves with bad memories about the past. Fact is that what is past happened irrevocably and can no longer be undone, so it is also no longer relevant. What's past is past, this is quite right, but the evil, negative, bad, and nasty which has come about in the past in relation to your wrong education, upbringing, and your life has left deeply entrenched tracks in you, and it is necessary to eliminate them. Effectively, all of your wrong past related to education upbringing is stored in you. You who live in anxieties and in unpeace, unfreedom and disharmony, in unhappiness and in unsatisfaction with yourself, the fellow human beings and the world. However, that does not mean that you shall poke around memory-wise in the terrible things of the past. Rather, you must free yourself from those memories of your wrong upbringing, education, and its consequences. Indeed, you yourself know very well what you have experienced in relation to the wrong upbringing in your childhood and in your later youth. But that is a long time ago, and the past must be left by you and not be constantly boiled up anew by the use of damage-bringing memories. Not even if everything has deeply entrenched itself into your memory, because all that matters is that you free yourself from it, and you cannot do that by rummaging around in your bad past. On the contrary, that which you had to accept concerning experiences and lived through experiences in your childhood and in adolescence that were full of pain and suffering, and what has imprinted itself in your memory and in all your cells of the body, you must now change through the power of your consciousness block, through your thoughts and feelings, as well as by the healing of your ailing psyche condition, as well as through your character and your personality, namely to the good, positive, and right. You do not have to rummage around in the past, but you must direct yourself to a new life conduct. However, you cannot do this by constantly recalling your bad childhood experiences and your living of those terrible things of childhood, but only by your leaving them far behind and building up for yourself new, positive, and valueful experiences that you can live through in a new and good kind and wise. So you must consciously free yourself from everything negative and bad stored from your childhood and from adolescence, which is as alive in you, just as you have actually experienced it. These are your former loneliness, all your disappointments, the Gewalt, the coercion and the lovelessness that were shown to you, as well as the constant criticism of your behavior, the inclusion in uncontradicted commands, as well as being beaten, etc. All of these things are stored in you and are constantly retrievable through your memories. And indeed today, just as in your childhood and adolescence, when you were experiencing and living all your pain directly, and thereby had probably experienced the heaviest time of your life. Although you now no longer want to remember it, nevertheless the memories thereto have entrenched deeply inside you, and you cannot get rid of them. But instead of dissolving these memories and turning yourself to a new life way by seeking such a one, and trying to make it your own and treading on it, you strive desperately to repress everything with lasting memories of the past. However, with this you create a paradox, because the constant self-recall and the simultaneously occurring repression creates an inner thought-feeling-based discord, which on the one hand imprints itself in the subconsciousness, and on the other hand damages the psyche. This creates the effect that the memories in relation to the experiences and the living of them in childhood and in adolescence repeat over and over again in every respect. And the utmost terrible thing of all this is that this effect no longer happens in a conscious wise, but unconsciously, such that the whole and the compulsion contained therein can no longer be consciously perceived. What happened once in the past can no longer be changed. Therefore, it is senseless and completely wrong to rummage around in it, especially when evil and terrible memories and experiences are connected with it. The only right thing that can be done when evil, negative, bad, and terrible happenings stand in connection therewith is that they are clarified and turned into a developmental change to the better, good, and positive. However, this cannot thereby happen, while the old burdens and sufferings of the past are rehashed and repeatedly called to mind and thought through, but only by dissolving and neutralizing them. However, this can only thereby happen if a new and valueful way to the life conduct as well as to the self-finding, self-value and self-realization is sought, found, worked out, and taken, and therethrough all the terrible things from the past, that is to say, from the childhood and youth, are dissolved and neutralized. Not only you, human being, you who live in anxiety, unhappiness, unsatisfaction and in your inner and unpeace, unfreedom and disharmony, have a heavy burden to bear in your life, for there are countless human beings who are troubled by a past burden in their lives, and therefrom afflicted by anxiety as well as by unsatisfaction, as well as from self-lovelessness and from inner unpeace, from unfreedom and disharmony that result from their past. In fact, it is not, however, the past itself, through which you, in your thoughts, feelings, and in your psyche become tormented and tortured. Rather, it is all the mentioned unvalues with which you are also at odds, as well as with yourself. It is all the condemnations and reproaches which you have also made toward yourself, as well as toward your parents or your other educators, as well as toward your acquaintances and friends. It all weighs very heavily on you, in your memory, in your cells, the whole body, and in your conscious but mostly unconscious memories. And you bear this burden because you do not get rid of it by consciously and willingly dissolving and neutralizing it, namely, by turning yourself to something new in every respect, by creating for yourself a new mode of life and self-development, as well as a new life direction and life fulfillment. You just have to do it consciously and newly acquire everything in this respect, which then dissolves and neutralizes all the distress as well as all the damage and pain of the past, from your childhood and from your youth. Therethrough you win the joy of living, a healthy self-love and an equally healthy egoism, as well as your happiness, your satisfaction, and in your inner peace, freedom, and harmony. Everything lies only in you yourself to do it, and to get rid of your burden from the past, which you are only faintly conscious of, because it is constantly stirring and taunting in the underground of your inner, namely in an unconscious wise. No one but yourself compels you to carry this burden of your anxieties, your unhappiness, and your unsatisfaction, as well as of the unfreedom, disharmony, and the unpeace in you. And you are actually forcing yourself to do so, namely in an unconscious kind and wise, because you are of the erroneous and confused view that you could not change your condition regarding this to the better, good, and positive. You believe in this because you erroneously and confusedly assume that you would have to be able to change the past, just as this is, erroneously and in ignorance of the effective facts, mistaught by psychologists and psychiatrists, because only thereby they assume, could the consciousness, thought, feeling, psyche be asked evils, be dissolved and destroyed. This just in the wise that the things of the past had to be used and made conscious of, in order to work them out and to dissolve them. But this means, to the contrary, that with such conscious reminiscences, the whole of the evil, negative, and bad of the past becomes apparent anew, and thus repeatedly burdens the consciousness, the thoughts, feelings, and the psyche all over again. In fact, however, such a wrongdoing is not necessary, because it is only necessary to seek something new, to perceive, understand, and logically follow it, to work it out and to change it into a new life conduct that is completely free from the burdens of the past. It is in this respect in the allegory that when a leg breaks on a chair, then it is brought to the cabinet maker for repair, who looks for a new and suitable piece of wood, takes it, shapes it properly, and puts it back in the chair, which makes it perfectly good again. In doing so, he or she does not care in what kind and wise and why the chair leg is broken, because he or she is only interested in making or turning a new chair leg in order to repair the chair and to make it fit again. This equally applies to that of the consciousness, the thoughts, feelings, and the psyche which have arisen through burdens from the past, that is to say, from childhood and adolescence, and must be dissolved and neutralized. Therefore, not the facts and the concrete happenings from childhood and adolescence are to be drawn on and boiled up. Rather, they are to be dissolved and neutralized therethrough, by drawing on and building up something new, good, and positive, as a result of which everything evil, negative, bad, and terrible dissolves by itself and finally disappears, so to speak. So all this, which, consciously as well as very often unconsciously, rumbles in the consciousness as well as in the thoughts, feelings, and in the psyche concerning all the terrible things from the past up to the present day, must not be further considered, and above all is not to be used for the so-called working out reappraising, because otherwise everything will only get steadily worse. The whole thing has to be done in such a way that by means of new things, the old burdens are dissolved and eliminated, because only therethrough can it also happen that the past of the wrong upbringing with all its evil, negative, and bad consequences for the consciousness, thought, feeling, psyche, condition will be overcome and no longer make life heavy. Human being, appeal to your intellect and to your rationality, and make peace with your past that is consciously or unconsciously tormenting you, by turning away from it and turning yourself to something completely new. Create in yourself by means of new values, love, peace, freedom, and harmony, and let your unpeaceful past sink in total oblivion and in a final elimination, because only in this wise can you yourself create the foundations for a peaceful, free, harmonious, and a happy as well as satisfied future. Pay no more attention to what is consciously or unconsciously burdening you from your childhood or adolescence or even adulthood, thus not even if you were beaten, humiliated, abused, or abandoned. No human being can free you from your conscious or unconscious terrible memories of the past except yourself. So only you alone can create in yourself all the necessary peaceful, loving, free, harmonious, as well as happy and satisfied values. If in your past you could not choose freely and could not express your own opinion, be it at the time in your childhood or adolescence or even in adulthood, then you nevertheless have the freedom today to express your opinion clearly and to say that you do not like all that which burdened you from your past, or maybe even in the present, and lets you be unhappy and unsatisfied. Human being, you have to create your happiness and satisfaction from out of yourself, as well as the righteous and good self-love, the peace, the freedom, and harmony in you. You have to detach yourself from the dependence on your past, and also from what makes you dependent in the present, and indeed from everything by which you are caught in unfreedom. From now on, you have to set your own expectations and demands on yourself, and thereby eliminate the old expectations and demands that have been placed on you in the past, or which perhaps will even be imposed on you in the present. You do not have to rebel, but spend your power thereto, to likewise give yourself attention and affection, just as you have to demand it from your fellow human beings, and indeed irrespective of whom it concerns. This is necessary because attention and affection are not only an important nourishment for the psyche, but they also help to create happiness and satisfaction, as well as peace, freedom, and harmony in the inner, because the thoughts and feelings stir in a wise, out of which also arises equalizedness, and ultimately a good and healthy self-love, which in turn leads to self-acceptance. Human being, go with your thoughts and feelings in your inner and make peace with your past. Make peace with everything with which you have been in a clinch and have lived in unpeace up to this day. Free yourself from all the burdens of your unpeaceful and unhappy past, because only by doing so will you be able to create the foundations for a happy and satisfied future. If you were insulted, humiliated, beaten, or even abused in any wise in your childhood and adolescence, no one but you yourself can prevent you from gaining happiness and satisfaction, so only you alone can manage to make a clean break with the past and to come to the inner peace. Today, as an adult human being, you have the possibility. Unlike your childhood and adolescence, when you could not defend yourself against the wrong education, to choose freely and to decide for yourself and to do what is good and right and gives you happiness and satisfaction. If in your childhood and adolescence you were formed by dependency and unfreedom through the family home, and had to adapt yourself to the expectations and demands of your parents or other educators, so you are now free in this regard and can set your own expectations and demands and be responsive in the right kind and wise to anything good, necessary, and right. Now you can say yes or no to yourself and turn your attention to winning all that which you want for a good and better, as well as happy and satisfied future, way of living and life conduct.
Simyase, Silver Star Center, November 19th, 2014, 6:19 p.m. Billy.